There had been quite a period where my parents weren't getting along. My father, Jim Robertson, was being quite abusive with my mother and with me.
In the final years of his life, legendary songwriter and guitarist Robbie Robertson, who was best known as the lead guitarist and primary lyricist for the band, did something few expected. He broke years of silence to share one last message with the world. He was someone known for his poetic storytelling and guarded privacy, so his words carried a never-before-seen weight of a lifetime of silence. In a deeply personal moment, he offered insights that left fans, fellow musicians, and even his critics stunned. Join us as we peel back the hidden layers of Robbie Robertson's life, career, and the words he finally decided to share in the end days. In Robbie Robertson Revelations, one of the things he discussed was his complicated relationship with Levon Helm. For fans, this was a much-anticipated discussion because it has to do with one of the most talked about and long-running feuds in rock history. The guy responsible for the band's iconic songs shocked fans with this revelation, which showed just how troubled the past had been. So, what exactly did he have to say about Levon Helm? And why was it so shocking? Did it perhaps shine some light on the feud? The band. Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm's relationship before his death was like a timeless rock ballad, full of ups and downs, harmony and discord. In the 1960s, they embarked on their adventure as a band with Rick Danko, Garth Hudson, and Richard Manuel. They revolutionized music with their distinctive blend of rock, folk, and Americana. In the beginning, there was Danko, Manuel, and Hudson. Then there was Robbie, a guitarist and songwriter from Canada, and Levon Helm, a drummer and singer from the South hailing from Arkansas. While individually, their talents shined through, something truly remarkable occurred when they collaborated. They did more than make music. They created a new style that was firmly grounded in American heritage. Originally, the members of the band were known as the Hawks. Ronnie Hawkins, a rockabilly singer, had them as his backing band. Levon Helm became a member in 1957, when he was still just a high school student. By 1958, he had become their regular drummer. During that time, the Hamilton area and Toronto were huge fans of Ronnie Hawkins. They were sick of playing his songs, and his rigid regulations seemed to choke them. So the Hawks broke away from Ronnie Hawkins in late 1963. Later on, Robbie Robertson stated that they needed to go out on their own because Ronnie had prepared them so well. It was at this time that a saxophonist called Jerry Penfound, who was a member of the crew when they were known as the Levon Helm Sext, left. Following his departure, they transformed into Levon and the Hawks. They recorded a song as the Canadian Squires and released it in 1965. Bob Dylan recruited the Hawks to perform on his 1965 U.S. tour later that year. They informed him that if Bob hired all of the Hawks, Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm would join him, and after his approval, they joined him on tour. They made sense to them. They saw it as an opportunity, because they could now reach an even wider audience with this opportunity. They were known as the band due to their consistent role as the backing band for various vocalists. The band eased Bob's shift from folk to rock, which was much talked about at the time. Their genuine enthusiasm and high-energy performances made them famous as one of the top live bands in no time. They relocated to Woodstock, New York, along with Bob, in 1967, as they recorded several unofficial tracks there. It was groundbreaking when the band released their self-titled debut album in 1968, frequently referred to as Music from Big Pink. The record wasn't merely about the various pieces, but about a unified, full-bodied sound that seemed enduring. The Wait, I Shall Be Released, and Chest Fever were among the songs that became famous overnight. Notable among these songs is The Wait. which stands out due to its moving melody and unforgettable lyrics. The song captures the essence of each character's distinct flair as it narrates a tale of a journey and meets with them. They performed songs about old America using a variety of styles, which set them apart from the popular music of the period. The majority of their tunes were written by Robbie Robertson, while Levon Helm was renowned for his powerful drumming and voice. Stage Fright, which they released in 1970, was the band's subsequent album. It carried on from their previous successful work with songs like Stage Fright and The Shape I'm In, demonstrating their hardships and contributing to the album's raw emotional edge. Fans felt a profound connection to the music that he wrote and that Levon sang because of his unique voice. Their music felt both intimate and applicable due to the combination of Robbie's beautiful lyrics and Levon's forceful performance. There were highs and lows for the band in the early 1970s. Their manager, Albert Grossman, constructed Bearsville Studios, where they recorded their subsequent album, Cahoots. It debuted in October 1971 to mixed reviews. Bob Dylan came to Robbie's house while they were recording Cahoots, so they covered his song When I Paint My Masterpiece, which eventually became a hit track on the album. One other outstanding piece from Cahoots was Life is a Carnival. Alan Toussaint arranged the energetic horn passages for this hit. It was the only song from Cahoots that they continued performing until their last show, which was recorded in The Last Waltz, and it became a fan favorite during their live appearances. The band persisted in touring throughout 1970 and 1971 despite the mixed reviews of Cahoots. Their performances from the 28th of December through the 31st, 1971, were recorded live at New York City's Academy of Music, with their performances featuring on the double CD, Rock of Ages. The year 1972 saw the publication of the album. The band paused their performance schedule after these gigs. They made a triumphant return to the stage on the 28th of July, 1973, along with the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers Band at the Summer Jam at Watkins Glen. With almost 600,000 attendees, the festival inevitably broke the record for most pop music festivals ever hosted at the time. Moondog Matinee, a collection of cover songs showcasing rock and roll masterpieces from the 50s and 60s, was released in October 1973. Their popularity skyrocketed, and they only improved as performers and musicians. Their last live performance, The Last Waltz, released in 1978, was eventually adapted into the renowned film by Martin Scorsese. Guests at this star-studded event included, among others, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and Eric Clapton. A proper send-off to a group that had permanently altered the course of rock music. However, not all was roses and rainbows behind the scenes. Despite the band's success, they faced their fair share of obstacles. The band's connections deteriorated over time. The demands of stardom, individual problems, and disagreements over creative direction began to wear on them. Once very close, Robbie and Levon started to drift apart. As soon as the band decided to end their tour, problems began to surface. Coming from the point where they had initially started, it's safe to say that it was their teamwork that made them great. So what disputes eventually pulled apart this iconic duo? The split. Their feud is one that is easy to understand, actually. Due to his role as the main songwriter, Robbie had a strong need to keep pushing boundaries and experimenting with music, but Levon was ironically irritated and excluded. He was less enthusiastic about Robbie's new path and more concerned with being true to their musical traditions. Following Robbie's departure in 1976 from the band, their relationship took a turn for the worse. Levon was especially devastated by his departure after their last show. He felt that he had deserted the band, leaving him and the rest to handle the fallout of their split alone. In the years that followed, Levon experienced both emotional and financial difficulties, which further added to his sense of betrayal. This Wheels on Fire, his memoir, which he released in 1993, only made matters worse. He detailed his frustrations with Robbie in detail in the book, with no lack of harsh words for him about his position in the band and how he managed their money. The memoir revived an ancient grudge, and this time, even the fans got involved, with many taking sides and criticizing the opposition. The criticisms from Levon wounded Robbie, who felt that his ex-bandmate had distorted their relationship history, betraying his feelings. Meanwhile, Levon thought of Robbie as unjust in his distribution of band royalties, since he felt Robertson took an unfairly large cut of the band's songwriting profits. Additionally, Levon was upset because Robbie was allegedly rude to the rest of the band. According to his autobiography, he was annoyed because of his behavior and how it affected the band's cohesion. An interview with Robbie Robertson revealed a complex and nostalgic side to his friendship with Levon Helm. Robbie began by mentioning just how deep their bond initially was, as it went beyond just working together. It was like family. He stated, "The relationship obviously was close. Is it too close to describe it as he became a brother to you? No. He was the closest thing in my life I've ever had to a brother." He elaborated on the importance of their close friendship to the band's success. He brought up the documentary Once Were Brothers, stating that it showed how much their friendship meant to them in addition to their music. They were able to create innovative songs because of their strong bond. The comments about his replies were also sympathetic, one saying, "You're quite the storyteller, and now you've written the story of your life. You write about how your best friend Levon Helm is in the band. Your book seems almost to be a love story in a way." Even though he had fond memories of his time with the band, he admitted that the breakup was difficult for Levon. Alongside their musical brilliance, Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm had a gritty past marked by brushes with crime, illegal substances, and even a failed attempt at armed robbery. Before achieving fame and becoming embroiled in their well-known feud, the two musicians spent time with a rough crowd, and people who ranged from quirky to downright dangerous. Luckily, their robbery plan never came to fruition. Had it gone differently, it's unclear whether the band's iconic legacy would ever have taken shape. The 1960s were already steeped in vice, but the world Robbie and Levon moved in was especially risky, populated by what he later described as highly capable criminals. Their involvement in this shadowy scene led them to try robbing an illegal card game. Armed and ready, they arrived at the location, only to find the game had been called off. Robbie told Mojo in 2017 that, "We were close with people from the underworld, career criminals and skilled thieves. They came to our gigs. This was in big cities up north. In the South, the criminal element had a different flavor." He added, "We met all sorts of people, like playing at Jack Ruby's club, where a one-armed go-go dancer performed, and not long after, he shot Oswald. The company we kept made the idea of Levon and me trying a robbery seem natural. We weren't so different from those guys. People on both sides of the tracks like to bend the rules and get away with things they shouldn't. Their relationship was tight as could be at first, and now strained due to his health and financial problems." Robbie pointed out that Levon's troubles caused people to be angry with him. Since they had never fought while they were together, he found Levon's fury and accusations to be quite startling. He went on to add, "He got very ill, and if that happened to me, I might have gotten better too." According to Robbie, "For all the years we were together, we never had a crossword ever about anything." He found the abrupt shift from friendly rivals to bitter enemies to be unsettling. When he thought back on their time together, he decided to look on the bright side. He praised the incredible experiences they had and the songs they created, saying he was engrossed in the wonder of their voyage together. He valued the pleasant recollections and their musical accomplishments above the subsequent disputes. He also hoped to put their animosity aside and value their common background. He was sympathetic to Helm's plight, but admitted he couldn't undo what had happened. "I was sad for Levon that he had to go there, and I felt terrible for him, but I couldn't fix it." He pointed out, "I was sad for Levon that he had to go there." In the midst of his recollections, Robbie Robertson also talked a bit about his family history and early life events that influenced his professional choice and path. When he was younger, his parents were going through a difficult period, and his father, Jim, wasn't exactly a rock of love and support. He began by describing this period in his life when his mother had broken the news to him in a private moment that Jim wasn't his biological father. She informed him, "Sit down. I need to tell you something. Maybe I should have told you this before, but he's not your real father." Ironically, his biological father was Alexander Klegerman, a suspected criminal who had been allegedly assassinated prior to his birth. He was shocked by this news because he had never thought his family history was so shocking. His biological father had a sister named Pearl Klegerman. Pearl was one of Alexander's siblings, alongside brothers Nathan Israel Klegerman and Morris Max Klegerman. After Alexander's untimely death in a hit-and-run accident in 1946, Robbie's mother introduced him to his paternal uncles, Natey and Maury Klegerman. These uncles welcomed Robbie into their lives, helping him connect with his Jewish heritage and supporting his early ambitions. These bonds helped him make sense of the desires and emotions that had long been brewing inside of him. In addition to being quite accepting, his new family had a significant impact on his outlook. They grasped his aspirations and goals, particularly when he divulged his aspirations to be a musician to them. When I informed the Klegermans about my aspirations in music, they responded with a voice that said, "Rock and roll. You don't want to be in furs and diamonds. You want to be in there." Despite their initial confusion, his family wholeheartedly supported his musical pursuits. His musical journey began in Toronto, where his mother was from 6 nations. He was profoundly affected by his mother's constant exposure to music and storytelling. The city's thriving creative scene inspired him, and he yearned to be a part of it. Robbie was also profoundly affected by his family's storytelling tradition, which he described as having a chilling effect on him as a child. According to him, "I said to my mom, when I grow up, I hope I can tell stories like that. And, you know, like moms do," she said, "Oh, I'm sure you will." His desire to learn how to tell stories stemmed from a desire to be a part of a rich tradition of storytelling that he found profoundly inspiring, rather than merely musical. As he entered his twilight years, he was engrossed in a new record that he characterized as completely different from his previous work. He said, "I know it sounds good because we worked so hard," describing the immense effort that he and his team had put into the project. Robbie was enthusiastic about the innovative direction they had taken with the album, highlighting how it felt like a whole new experience. They had rethought the music, experimenting with different sounds and instrumentation. He explained, "We took a lot of liberty with the music, too," describing how this creative freedom had given the project a unique charm. He also related a funny memory of a picture shoot that took place with Richard Avedon. As the session progressed, Richard's flash briefly blinded the subjects. Despite this unanticipated development, he chose to record the occasion, exclaiming, "Whoa, wait a minute!" Robbie recalled that when the flash went off, he told everyone to close their eyes, which led to a funny photo that he wanted to capture. So he was setting up. He arranged all of this order like this, and then he set off his flash, and it made everybody blink. Speaking of family, Robbie's first marriage was to a Canadian journalist, Dominique Bourgeois, on the 24th of March, 1968. The couple had 3 children together, 2 daughters and a son named Sebastian. However, their marriage ended in November 2003. Robbie then found love again in Janet Zuccherini and married her on the 12th of March 2023. Janet announced the news of their wedding on her Instagram account, and the couple began a new chapter in his life. She is a Canadian entrepreneur, restaurateur, and judge on Top Chef Canada, and was his girlfriend for 4 years before their marriage. Besides his music career, he was well known for his charitable work. He was a member of the Canadian charity Artists Against Racism, which shows his dedication to social issues beyond music. Robertson's life was cut short on the 9th of August, 2023. He died in Los Angeles at the age of 80 after a year-long battle with prostate cancer. He was surrounded by his family, including Janet Zuccherini and Dominique Robertson, at the time of his death, according to his manager, Jared Levine. Instead of flowers, the family asked that donations be made to the 6 nations of the Grand River in recognition of his connections and contributions. A tribute concert to him was organized by Martin Scorsese in November 2023 in Los Angeles, paying tribute to the actor's life and career. Notable guests at the event included Joni Mitchell, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Lily Gladstone. Robertson's reflections offer a glimpse into his complicated life, as he overcame many obstacles in his youth to accomplish great creative things. Interestingly, Levon Helm wasn't the only friendship of his to get noticed. His relationship with Martin Scorsese, along with a few others, have gotten their place in the spotlight now. Martin Scorsese. Robbie Robertson sheds light on the remarkable collaboration between Martin Scorsese and himself in a new book. The musician describes the directors and his lifelong connection in a posthumous memoir detailing their shared path as innovative American artists and their lengthy creative collaboration. The book offers a deeply intimate look at the ambition and admiration shared by the 2 men. The name of the memoir is Insomnia and is set to premiere in November 2025. Something fans can look forward to. The Last Waltz, which records Robbie's band, The Band, performing their last Thanksgiving concert in 1976, is the first joint project between Robbie Robertson and Martin Scorsese, and it serves as the prologue to Insomnia. As Robbie's marriage and friendships with his bandmates began to crumble, he turned to his buddy Martin, who at the time was going through similar emotional turmoil, and the 2 began a deep collaboration that would last long after the band had disbanded. According to the synopsis, both men, already culture-transforming stars before the age of 35, stood at a creative peak, searching for the beginning of a new phase of life and work. As their friendship deepened into a career-altering collaboration, their shared journey would take them around the world and down the rabbit hole of American culture in the long hangover of the 70s. In the documentary Insomnia, the late rock star Robbie Robertson recounts his extraordinary trip as a friend, adventurer, and boundary-pushing collaborator with Martin Scorsese. Darkness Falls by Robbie Robertson, Penguin haphazard home members of the Scorsese film star, Robert De Niro's entourage, including Harvey Keitel, Federico Fellini, Sophia Loren, Sam Fuller, Liza Minnelli, and Tuesday Weld, all crossed paths with their alliance. Among the many Martin Scorsese features that Robbie would later compose the score for are Casino in 1995, Raging Bull in 1980, The King of Comedy in 1983, Gangs of New York in 2002, The Wolf of Wall Street in 2013, Silence in 2016, The Irishman 2019, and Killers of the Flower Moon in 2023. He was nominated for Best Original Score at the Academy Awards after his death for his work on the latter. At a Los Angeles tribute concert honoring the life and music of the late Robbie Robertson, Eric Church, Noah Kahan, and many more will be performing. In the wake of the news of his death, Martin Scorsese reflected on Robbie's life and recalled him as a talented buddy. He revealed in a statement that Robbie Robertson was a dear friend of his and a continuous presence in both his personal and professional life. He was someone he could confide in at any time, a partner and counselor. He did his best to emulate him. His impact on the art form was immense and enduring, and it is obvious that he was a giant. Spending time with loved ones is an endless pursuit. He adored Robbie as well. The exact release date of Insomnia is slated to be on the 11th of November and can be pre-ordered from any bookshop. Some may have been surprised about Robbie's involvement in some of those Martin projects, but you'd be absolutely floored to learn about his tight connection to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter. In recent times, it isn't uncommon to see politicians hanging out with musicians, but that wasn't how things worked back in the 1970s. Back then, politics and rock music rarely crossed paths, and Jimmy Carter helped change that. Starting with his run for governor of Georgia in the 1960s and continuing through his presidential campaign in the 70s, Jimmy made no secret of his ties to musicians of the rock era. When he was inaugurated in 1977, Aretha Franklin and Paul Simon performed, and it made perfect sense. Jimmy had already built friendships with Southern rockers, many of whom were fellow Georgians. He also knew how to use rock for more than just goodwill. His campaign raised money by hosting benefit concerts featuring bands like the Allman Brothers Band and the Marshall Tucker Band. Since the tickets counted as small donations, his campaign qualified for matching federal funds, which many consider a smart financial move. Jimmy wasn't just some politician passing through. He had a real connection to the music scene. In 1974, during Bob Dylan's tour with the band, Jimmy Carter invited them to a reception at the governor's mansion. Robbie Robertson later described the evening as surreal, noting that it was rare for musicians to be welcomed into political spaces at the time. He recalled Jimmy as a kind, wonderful human being who genuinely loved music and treated artists with respect. Jimmy's admiration for the band and other musicians was evident throughout his political career. He often used music to connect with voters and was known for his friendships with artists like Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, and the Allman Brothers Band. Robbie's reflections on his interactions with him painted the former president's unique approach to politics in a progressive light, where cultural engagement and genuine human connection played significant roles. In a conversation from February 2023, a little over a year before he passed away, former Allman Brothers guitarist and singer Dickie Betts reflected on his memories of Jimmy. Jimmy Carter died on the 29th of December, 2024, at the age of 100. Dickie remembered how Jimmy stood out even early on. When he ran for governor in '66, he was up against Lester Maddox, one of the worst racists in the country. We were ashamed to say we were from Georgia. But when Jimmy got elected in 1970, everything changed. Suddenly, Georgia felt like the Peach State again. He was close with the Allman's manager, Phil Walden, who introduced him to the band. He came by the studio a few times while we were recording Brothers and Sisters. We hung out, had dinner. He was just easy to be around. It was surprising at first, but we thought, this guy's okay. While Jimmy never talked much about favorites, he once told Dickie he liked Ramblin' Man, calling it a true working-class anthem. Dickie also remembered seeing Jimmy wearing an Allman Brothers t-shirt while vacationing on Jekyll Island after the 1976 Democratic Convention. That kind of support was unheard of at the time. Over time, the band grew close to Jimmy. Dickie recalled, "He asked us to help out with his campaign by doing benefit shows. We'd met other politicians before, but they never really included us like Jimmy did. He truly cared about rock music, and a lot of us helped him however we could. He never took money directly from the band. The ticket buyers knew they were supporting something good." He smiled as he mentioned one memento. "I've got a letter on the wall from him that says, 'Thanks for your advice. That means a lot. I'm proud of that.'" Dickie Betts also remembered Jimmy Carter as a genuinely kind and intelligent man. He reflected on how people often don't fully appreciate someone until they're gone. "I'm not big on politics," he admitted, "but Jimmy used to say, 'If I set a good example, others will follow.' But Washington doesn't work like that. It's cutthroat. Bill Clinton tried to follow Jimmy's example, but he was able to fight back and outsmart them." One thing about Robbie Robertson was sure. While he did get some bad publicity from his apparent feud with Levon, he was someone that connected deeply with his friend, and they in kind thought well of him. While he is dead now, his memories live on in those still living and in the legacy and connections he built during his lifetime and beyond. What do you think of Robbie Robertson's life? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.